All right. Welcome, everybody, to the May edition of Firebase Office Hours at Novoda. So joining me today, we have Andrei from Novoda.
Hi, I'm Andrei. I'm a software engineer here at Novoda. I mainly have experience in Realtime Database and cloud functions with Firebase, but I'm super excited about everything else as well.
Awesome. We have Jozef.
I'm Joseph. I also have a lot of experience with Firebase functions and database on Android.
Cool. And joining us remote, we have Shah.
Hey there, everybody. Yeah, I have experience as well in Firebase functions and storage, and also I spent a lot of time in Firebase queue as well.
And Tahsin from the Berlin office.
So hello, I'm Tahsin. I'm from the Novoda Berlin office. So I am a Firebase Google developer expert as well. So trying to be like I'm more on the Android side and trying to be involved in every aspect of the Firebase, but not much experience with functions, unfortunately.
Cool. And so I'm Benjamin. I'll be your host for today. And yeah, let's kick this off. So seems there's something quite big that happened during this month that we can talk about. It was Google I/O, and there was a lot of very exciting stuff announced on Firebase. So we saw quite a lot of things coming in. We have Firebase integrated with Fabric. Now we have phone authentication coming to Firebase. They've introduced performance monitoring. The analytics has seen like a bit of a revamp, and there's a lot more options, and it's a lot more robust as a solution for analytics. And then they're adding also a lot more features on iOS slides for game developers as well, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of new features coming in to Firebase that were announced at I/O. So yeah, is there like any specific one that you guys are very excited about, or that like you wish you would do more about?
I personally am really excited about Firebase client SDKs being open source. That's really good news. I think as far as I remember, they open sourced all the client SDKs except Android SDKs. And they announced that they will do it soon. I think the reason is it's a little bit annoying for us Android developers, but I think it's the reason is the Play services, because it depends on the Play services heavily. So they are, I guess, trying to decouple that soon. I think that will be really awesome, because that will mean that more device support and open source, being open source, will be really awesome as well. Yeah, let's see.
If they're decoupling it, like, do you think that means they'll have like a re-implementation of the bits that rely on Play services, or do you think it'll be more like what they were doing with, was it the ECM network manager, when they had this concept of driver that was abstracted away, that you could like read parts of the library to be supported without Play services, for example?
Yeah, I think that the others will exactly like that. You are talking about the Firebase dispatcher, right?
Yeah, exactly. Firebase dispatcher. That's the one.
Yeah, I think it will be very similar to that, and that's why it will be really good. Like, for example, one thing that I can think of, for example, one benefit will be there is Google authentication and Firebase authentication, right? The Firebase authentication is essentially a bunch of REST API calls that create your user depending on your authentication token that you got from Google or Facebook. So it creates your account, the user's account on Firebase and stuff. There is no reason that this wouldn't be an open source SDK. For example, one annoyance we came across is, I think it was even mentioned before in our office hours, was that Firebase authentication cannot be used on Android Wear devices. Yeah. Yeah, for example, this could easily be resolved by an open source SDK. Why there is no reason that it wouldn't work on an Android Wear devices, because Android Wear is just an Android operating system now, just another device. So decoupling more from the Play services will benefit a lot, I think.
Yeah, hopefully we will be able to see also Firebase running on Amazon devices.
Yeah.
We are lucky enough.
Yeah, I mean, especially I had the experience trying to run it on TVs as well, like Amazon TVs and to a certain degree as well Apple TV, and like all of those scenarios were pretty difficult to do before. So,
yeah, we spent a lot of time trying to recreate the real-time database on on Amazon TV, Fire TV, and it would be amazing if you could just get it out of the box from source library. That would be great.
nice.
I'm also wondering with this open sourcing the SDKs, if Google would be more interested in the community contributing a little bit as well. Not sure. Through their GitHub repo, opening up issues at least.
Might be interesting. I mean, one thing to note is it is just the client part getting open source, right? So Firebase is still very much a service with a backend, like there's the server part of it, and all of that remains like Google's own software and property. And so there's only so much you can do from a client perspective when you can't modify what happens behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely going to be very interesting for opening the door to more devices, being able to connect to it, making it more of a true like mobile solution in a global manner. But yeah, I don't know exactly how much we'll be able to contribute as a community to the actual product, though. But yeah, still a lot of stuff to expect from that. Definitely, that's quite interesting.
I think also on that point, issue tracker is really makes sense. I don't know what they are going to do, but like as far as I know, they track some Firebase issues publicly on the sample projects, not related to the sample applications, but to the like people just open because there is not any other public space to open issues. So I think when it is open source, then we will also have some place to go and open issues when we find something, which will be tracked on GitHub, and that is also very good.
Sounds quite exciting. Another thing that was announced, which is quite exciting, is that there's changes happening with regards to how hosting can work. So I know that Charlie had a bit of experience with Firebase hosting and cloud functions. I don't know if you saw that hosting becomes this like dynamic hosting thing now, with the ability to hook cloud functions to add sort of behavior to the pages that are hosted now with Firebase.
Yeah, so I don't use hosting that much. I have used it for setting up static websites before, but it'd be really interesting to see how we can connect them with the functions. I was using Firebase Q before. Have you guys used Firebase Q before?
Queues. We haven't used Firebase queues now.
It was basically like self-hosted functioning. About functions coming out in next few months ago. You know, a lot of us have been waiting for it for a very long time.
It's something to look at, and really looked at it, but it seems quite interesting because it is a common problem with like functions to like have that sequencing of operations.
Yeah.
If I understood correctly, what it does.
Yeah, I think there is an open source. It's on GitHub. Some repo that has the Firebase queues implementation. So I think it's queues implemented using Firebase Realtime Database, as far as I remember correctly. But I don't know that ties to Firebase functions. If you could have some cubes.
So you're saying you use that. What was your use case for using this this system?
Yeah, so I have an app that would basically allow the user to press a button, and they would be matched, like on Call of Duty or whatever, with the person close by who already pressed that button as well. So I made a matching queue using Firebase queue, which would give them like a fake name, fake backstory, and stuff like that on the server side. So I was able to move a lot of those things onto functions, but my matching function, the player matching function, wasn't able to be moved because it was like restricted to a single thread basically. So in Firebase function, it reacts on every single event with multiple workers, right? So that was the one issue that I couldn't come around with Firebase functions, but the rest was perfect.
I guess you would have to do the synchronization yourself somehow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely the cloud function part is also getting updated, getting able to tie those back into like actions from websites as well. So it means that it's getting a lot easier to do like sort of a small homepage for your application if you want to have like the ability for the user to, let's say, log in or register on a website rather than doing it on their device for the first time, they can do that as well. So might make certain flows a bit easier. Like a classic example is if when you start building something for TVs, you always want to have an ability to have a quick sign-in by having someone doing something either on the phone or on a computer to do the sign-in, and then have like a code or something that you can validate to log in the TV. So good examples of those signing flows are like Twitch, like the Twitch TV application on Android. I think the YouTube TV, probably just using the Google login, but which
I think there's some sort of code that you have in the app.
So usually like quite a few have this concept of having a code that pops up on a TV, and then you go on a website and you type it in, and that finds your login and like signs you up. So I think those types of flow are going to be a bit easier to implement nowadays, which is quite exciting. Because yeah, I think TV has quite a lot to go in terms of tooling. Like it's still a very different environment for development. A lot of people are a bit scared of the amount of effort they have to do right now to make an app work on it. So they're introducing this performance monitoring tool, which seems to work slightly like the crash reporting, so almost like a zero overhead in terms of adding it to your project, but it's bringing you back quite a lot of information about sort of like your network usage, like how efficient your app is, and kind of might be quite useful to identify bottlenecks and try and like optimize your code. I don't know if any of us have had the time to look a bit more into it.
No, unfortunately not, but sounds.
Yeah, I looked at the integration a little bit. You just they now have, they have a Google Play Services Gradle plugin, and it does its magic. So now they have separate plugins, so they separate the plugins as well. So I as far as I know, there's a special plugin for Firebase, and an additional plugin for this performance monitoring thing. So you just apply the plugin, and then it adds it to your application class basically. Then the way to disable it for debug builds, for example, because as far as I remember, they suggest you to remove it from your debug builds because that will skew the metrics. So I think yeah, the way to do it is just you add a metadata information into your debug manifest file.
Yeah, so I had a look at it a bit, like on what it brings in terms of feature set, and it does look very interesting. It's doing automatically measuring stuff like the app startup time, or the HTTPS network requests. So kind of just having a bit of an overhead on like having a look at how fast is your app to start, how often are you doing network requests, how big those network requests are, things like that. Giving you sort of like breakdown of based on like device, OS version, country, like which kind of combination of those are like the slowest and where you could try and improve. And you can actually add your own traces as well. So you can say, I want to add a trace for this flow, and it's like start to end. And then within that, you can add counter ticks. So you can, for example, count, let's say you want to associate a counter to like how many times you hit a cache. And then you can say that throughout that whole flow, I've hit the cache like 10 times or whatever. So you can add a trace, add counters, different types of counters to that trace, and then in the reporting, you can then see those custom events happening. So it seems to be a very nice way to do performance metrics, and a lot of things that we maybe used to do with custom events in Firebase Analytics when we wanted to check, for example, how much memory this was consuming on whatever device is. We have like a better way of reporting it to make it sort of separated from the analytics for like your business logic from the analytics for performance reason. So that seems quite interesting.
It seems like it would be cool if you could tie that somehow with analytics, and then you would go to your PO and you would tell them like, you have a bottleneck and we are losing some users there because they're not patient enough or they don't want to come back anymore because the app is being slow. And then you have numbers. So you can,
I don't know how well that ties together. Like I don't know if you can actually just link it straight away.
Maybe you got the big query. If you could export the data somehow, I don't know. That would be cool to look
That would be nice. That would definitely be a good way of sort of analyzing performance metrics and tying them up directly to actual concrete outcomes for like income or like user turnarounds. That would be kind of a nice way to kind of maybe also like estimate like how crucial is this performance issue? Should I treat it right now, or is it okay to wait a bit and treat it a bit later because I can get better benefit for my app by adding this feature instead? Like those are always these discussions very difficult to have. There's not a lot of data to back us up and figuring out exactly what is more important to do, right? So that would be good.
And one thing, maybe the last to mention, I think it's available both for Android and iOS, which is really awesome because they started to doing that, and I think it really makes sense.
Yeah, so they've done a lot around bringing more platforms, right? Because Firebase was good in iOS, but iOS had a limited functionality set compared to Android. Like there was a bit less stuff available. They're bringing more and more on board, and they've introduced it also for games, right? So for native development as well.
I missed that. Sorry, what?
They're also introducing a lot of the features from Firebase available for games. So like, so through the like native development layer through the NDK, you can actually introduce Firebase from that as well now. So that's quite exciting. So yeah, it really seems like a big effort was done to let's make sure all the platforms are available now. Like let's make sure we can capture as many of the app developers as possible through Firebase. So that should make it a lot easier to work like with Firebase and bigger projects, I guess.
Yeah.
Requirements.
So most of the time you're one platform uses some tools, the other platform uses some other tools. You cannot really mix data together. So
I guess it might make it easier to sell to your business people that you want to use Firebase.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can use it everywhere.
Exactly. So when a new feature comes up like this performance monitoring, if it is only for Android, then it's really hard to sell to the product people because then the iOS will have another SDK that does a similar thing, and that's really weird to handle. If you having both is really good.
Yeah, and so there seems to be growing quite a bit learning from Fabric. So they've been with Fabric recently, and they're kind of bringing more and more of the things that came from Fabric into the main Google Analytics, like Firebase Analytics reporting tools, and they even brought digits. So that was the sort of phone authentication flow from Fabric, and now that's available in Firebase.
Which seems really simple. I haven't played with it, but yeah, for the functionality it provides, really simple to integrate.
The one issue I would say that Digits has is that in some countries it's a bit iffy. But yeah, honestly, that was the only reason why I had Fabrics left inside of Fabric, was because of Digits. It's great that they're over now.
And other countries are supported, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's always the problem with like phone sign-in, right? It's not as universal as like an email and password address.
Yeah, but I see it as an alternative anyway to signing in.
It is, and I think that's kind of the message behind Firebase authentication is you can use as many as you want.
Yeah.
So you can use Google login, you can use Twitter login, Facebook login, email and password. You can use phone numbers now. Like there's a lot of authentication methods, and I think what Firebase has, like with the authentication, has really succeeded is making it easy for you as an app developer to use like several of those and not have to worry about doing all the merging of the authentication tokens and all of that yourself. It's very easy to just integrate them and make it all work.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like for me, one of the best features was when you can create an anonymous user track, and the user can do stuff with your app, and then when they decide to sign in, you promote them to sign in user, and then you keep all the information about them, and it's really seamless. It's really very nice to work with.
I think that's the most, like, one of the most powerful features of the authentication of Firebase. Yeah. Do you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. One cool feature of the phone number verification is that you do SMS verification, and also like as the product or developer, you want to automatically verify the coming SMS, right? You usually send a verification code, and then you don't want the user to type that notification. You can only do that with SMS read permissions, which is really annoying because you just need that in the authentication part, and then you require SMS permission from the user, which is like lots of the users question that, and it is kind of something that they are afraid of. So with this new Firebase phone number authentication, they integrated something in the Play services. So when you integrate it without requiring an SMS permission, you automatically get a callback with the like it Play services already has the SMS verification, so it verifies itself to the code and just gives you the callback that it is verified, which is really awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I guess that's.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Sorry? Oh.
I said I didn't know that they handled the SMS verification issue, Digits. And so you played with the Digits. Are we able to change the message that goes with the text? No? Before it used to say like sent with Fabrics by Twitter or something on the bottom of the text.
No, I don't think you can.
No, right, okay.
That's
the next step.
Customized emails, I think, but
Yeah, I think so.
I guess now they are doing this automated verification. Now it is more important not to change it because it should be the same everywhere to verify it.
Also talking about Fabric, Well, last time I was asking Lawrence, Google developer advocate for Firebase, like, what should the developers choose? Firebase crash reporting, Crashlytics, Firebase crash reporting, Crashlytics, and he was a little bit hesitant, of course. And now we see that Crashlytics is the de facto, actually, crash reporting tool now. So for me, it was quite a surprise, but thinking about it is not that surprising, because Crashlytics, I think, has a lot of power and a lot of features, and merging it with what Firebase crash reporting was doing before.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And it seems quite nice as well to have that as like, there'll be the analytics panel, there'll be the Crashlytics tools like crash reporting, and most likely now the new performance tool as well. So it's a nice way to separate kind of the concerns between crashing, performance, and like your business analytics, I guess, and kind of making sure that you can gain value from every single one of them, but like have a nice sort of isolated place to look at them, I guess. But yeah, going back to your point, still, it would be nice to see what are the opportunities to, even the panels and the way to consume it are like sort of isolated, like that we don't lose the aspect of Firebase, which is we can link everything to whatever. And like, it would be nice to continue to be able to have maybe the data in BigQuery or in other things, to have that ability to link all of those together still if we want to. And obviously you want the easiest interface possible to like be able to get the maximal value out of it like in a very short time, but you don't want to lose that ability to sort of go deeper and like get all the information you want out of it, I guess.
I think once you have the data somewhere on the Google servers, then the connection to BigQuery and merging all the services together, that might be just a question of time. If it's not there now, it might be there soon, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, because that was to me one of the biggest wins of the analytics from Firebase is, yes, the dashboard wasn't up to, let's say, industry standards when it comes to what the basic dashboard could do for you, but the ability for you to get that into BigQuery and do everything you want with the data basically is very, very powerful. It's very easy to create complex analysis flows to create exactly what you want. So it's nice to see the dashboard getting more refined and things getting in a direction where it's easy to use, like out of the box. But let's hope we don't lose the ability to like go deeper and just use that data in a sort of like more raw access way, I guess.
My only concern with Firebase is like if you want to use one service, like if you wanted to use Crashlytics, it's for crash reporting. But now if you want to use just Firebase analytics, it feels like you are pulling in a lot more than you need at the moment. But I don't know how that would, if that would make it harder to sell, like again, to product people, that you want to include Firebase because of this amazing one feature, but then you are actually pulling in 10 other features that you don't need at the moment. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they already sandbox quite a bit, certain things. I think the one thing is, if you don't want the analytics, you're in trouble, because usually it's the one that is at the core of everything. But I think you can pull remote config without pulling crash reporting, But I think every single one of them is pulling analytics, if I remember correctly. So I think if you put remote config, you're getting the analytics with it. If you put crash reporting, you're getting the analytics with it. If you put, like, pretty much any single one gets the analytics, because the analytics is at the core. Like, a lot of data flows into this. I don't know how the new structure is evolving. Like, I haven't seen all the dependencies yet, but I would assume that it stays sort of in that fashion. But you can pull in just remote config. You'll just get the analytics with it, but you're not going to get like invites if you don't want it. Or you're not
I guess it makes sense. For like crash reporting is cool, or is a lot cooler because of the analytics that you get with it. So it's like
yeah, I think a lot of the features are like better because of the analytics, right? That's because they're tied to that, and you get more insight out of it. What else are they bringing? So many things.
So, Tahsin, you went to Google I/O. Did you attend any talks or workshops about Firebase that were interesting?
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. I attended a couple of the Firebase talks. So one interesting one is like they do 0 to app every year. You may know it. They did it at the Firebase Dev Summit at Berlin as well. So in the stage they are writing a couple of the applications. As far as I know, they don't have an official number, but they did like applications at the stage this time. That's really cool. Using the new features of the Firebase. Yeah. So there was that talk was really cool. There was another talk at the end of the day, which is talking about pipelining your application, like not application, but your system with Firebase functions. So they have a game. They had a game at Google I/O in front of their booth. The game was really cool. It has a huge screen. You sign up with your phone, so you enter. So that there they have the Firebase authentication. They have your information, and then it is a game of like 3 people where you play together. With Firebase questions, Firebase related questions. So you try to answer, but you don't have the. Not everybody has the answer, so you have to collaborate and answer, which was really cool. But then at the end of the game, so this all works through like multiplayer game works through Firebase, and at the end of the game, some Firebase functions runs lifetime to see a leaderboard in another screen, a lifetime, and then also it sends web push notifications, the FCM notifications to the phones that were registered. So like one game has like almost all the Firebase features. So they represented that, how they built it. That was really cool. Yeah, I would really suggest watching the video. Yeah. Apart from that, the demos were really cool. So they had a bunch of demos. Firebase also really good applications combining Firebase with IoT with Android things, plus the Google Actions SDK. So you have that. There was like Raspberry Pis where you speak and it takes your picture and it sends the picture to the Firebase storage. Then an action runs, get the picture, do something with the picture. Yeah, like lots of crazy SDKs coming together, working together, and posting something to Twitter later on. Yeah, there were a couple demos like that. Actually, it was really mind-blowing.
Nice. Yeah, sounds. I mean, looking at it, so I wasn't at I/O, but I looked at like the keynote and kind of started looking at like a lot of the videos and the schedule. Like there was a lot on Firebase. There was a lot of events around it, and so it's quite nice to see that a year after the decision of rebranding this whole thing and having that tool, there's still a lot of effort being put into it. There's still a lot of new things coming up, things that like the community has asked for and like are addressed. Like we're talking about the analytics dashboard getting better and better. We can finally see custom events in the analytics dashboard. So we can now add up to 50 custom events, and we can see them appearing in the dashboard. Whereas before, the only way to use those custom events would have been to query them through BigQuery. Like they would be there in the data, but there was no way to visualize them in the default like Firebase dashboard. So it's quite nice to see all of that coming together, I guess.
It's great how Google this is. Like we've seen progress driven by the community, driven by their research. And
yeah, and I think they're pushing it even more. So they're introducing the Firebase Alpha program, or at least they're widening the Firebase Alpha program, and so now developers can apply to it and kind of get a bit of a sneak peek on things that are coming, and like get insight on like, oh, it would be nice if this could be improved, or like this is what like maybe isn't really working with the things coming up. So it's really nice to see that they're really taking the community-driven aspect of it at heart and making sure that that continues with like a lot of avenues for us to give our feedback. So that's quite nice. So yeah, I highly encourage, like, if you like playing with Firebase and you like experimenting with stuff, like I think the Alpha program is a great thing to have a look at.
Do we usually put links into the description of the video? Maybe we can put the links to the Alpha program application to the description.
Yeah, well, definitely we'll put the links of the of everything we've mentioned. So there's like a blog post about the things that have been announced. We'll put the link to the Alpha program, and also we'll put the link down to the form if you're interested in participating in one of those office hours. Like just a few questions on what do you know about Firebase, or what do you want to know about Firebase, and then you can be a part of one of the next ones. So that will all be in the description down below once we go there.
I have a question about to Tahsin. You know, when you went for when you're talking about the game, the collaborative game, was that the one with the rocket?
Yeah, it was with the rocket.
Yeah, I think they used they fed to Firebase, and then they fed from Firebase functions towards Dataflow. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Not fully sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to find some more information on YouTube about Dataflow and how to use it properly, but you know, there's not much information. It's still not documented really well. Maybe that's where some Novoda can maybe do a write-up, right?
We started looking at the Dataflow. We haven't like used it extensively. I think it's one of those tools that is still very much closer to the original sort of big data science aspects than the sort of simplified approach that Firebase is. But I think, and especially with those types of like samples and whatever, they're going in the direction of making it a bit easier to work with. And so hopefully, like, we can start seeing it like in a bit of a simpler setup coming in. But it's also something we're looking at because it is quite interesting as a solution. But I don't think we have anything concrete that we've used it for yet. So
not yet.
I think to maybe dive a bit more into it, and then like have we can talk about it to the next 5 minutes, or we can just have a blog post about it or something. I know that Carl's been looking at it quite a bit, so that'd be good to have, I guess.
Oh, that'd be great.
I mean, the question you asked me, but I just played the game. The game was really cool. The presentation was nice, but I don't have enough knowledge to answer.
Yeah, okay. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're covering most of the new stuff that has been announced.
yeah. Question for Shah. Like you mentioned that functions. I'm just curious, like what scenarios you covered with them, like how they helped you.
Well, yeah, we use functions in a few different ways. I mean, the project I told you about where people are meeting each other with random names and random backstories, that was a long time ago. At the moment, I have an electric bike company in London, and what we use functions for now is basically we read the data from the electric bike controllers using an Intel Edison board, which has Android things on it. And we use Firebase Realtime Database on there to shoot off the data that comes out the controller to Firebase functions, and then Firebase functions parses that data, and then basically makes it human readable. And then also it goes the other way. Let's say, for example, I want to override the brakes or change the cruise control and speed settings. I can do that through a web app, which will then, Firebase function will then make a data command and send it to Android P to us. The reason for that is so then we don't have to keep, pushing new updates to our devices in order to have new functionality.
So how is it working with Firebase on Android things? Is it smooth?
Yeah, it works perfectly. It's really simple. I mean, it's like literally one activity. It does pretty much everything I need it to. And because it's not a UI thing, it supports it 100%. Real-time database, a lot of things. I think storage as well. There's a few things that won't work with it. I think Firebase UI is not going to work with it. But this database, storage, things like that will work. I think Office doesn't work on it either, to be honest.
That's really cool.
Nice, yeah, that's really nice to have that ability to have it on Android things and have it work that smoothly, because it opens the door for so many possibilities, like what you're doing, basically putting it into bikes and just getting information out of it, like syncing seamlessly. That's really amazing.
Yeah, it took something that would have taken us like 2-3 weeks to do natively. It took like half an hour to set up. It was really amazing.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
I'll do a write-up soon. I'll send you guys a link to it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that would be quite interesting to have a look at. So this is all the stuff that we've seen so far. What do you wish would have been announced at I/O and wasn't, or like sort of features that you think would be amazing to see coming very soon? So let's do a bit of a roundtable to see that coming. So
yeah, a lot of things have been announced actually. Thinking about it, I'm still thinking about Firebase, cloud functions for Firebase, more triggers to it. Don't know. Currently we have real-time database, storage, and HTTP. So let's see what can be attached more to Google. Yeah.
Well, actually, they added like before I/O, like a few months before, I think authentication.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good.
That's a really cool trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I don't know. Like the database is really cool. It's real time. The hardest thing that for me to work with the database is how to structure your data. I would like to see something that would simplify that somehow. I don't know how, but that would be cool.
that'd be quite nice. Sean, anything you wish was coming, or
I think a logical next step would be to mix Firebase functions with the remote config. Like, let's say, for example, I have a server-side function that does something really simple, logical. It's contained into that one function. I mean, if I'm able to push that logic through remote config to my phone, so then users still have that functionality even if they're off network. That'd be really cool.
oh yeah, that'd be nice, because there's definitely a thing where the more logic you push through cloud functions, the less offline functionality you can have, right?
Yeah.
So then this whole concept of how much balance do you have between the ease and the sort of cross-platform aspect of logic through functions, and then what is not available offline, right? So yeah, that would be quite nice.
Exactly. We'll be able to control the logic centrally, but we'll be able to compute on edge.
Sounds cool. Tahsin, anything?
So to be honest, I was not really expecting Firebase SDKs to be open source. Like the whole I/O, that was one of the most exciting news for me personally, and I'm really looking forward to the Android SDKs to be open source. That's great news for me.
Yeah, sounds quite nice. I guess for me, two things. One is definitely, now that Kotlin is supported, can we see some nice Kotlin bindings? Maybe like some aspects of like the database bindings, like cleaner APIs, using some of the niceties of the Kotlin language. Because obviously you can import the Java library, which just works fine, but you can probably clean it up a bit and have like a more like, let's say, Kotlin and like reactive approach to it. So that would be quite nice to see. The other one is just my long pet peeve, or I want to be able to see, well, to query in the analytics data from the database. I think that's a big thing missing, because there's so many times where you end up duplicating information in your analytics for the sake of being able to query it as analytics. And it would be nice to see that from your, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, it's something that requires a lot of work on their end, so I understand why it's not just there yet. But it'll be amazing if it comes, because it'll make it so much like the power you would get for analytics would be like tenfold. You would have so much less effort to put in implementing analytics. You would focus on anything that is navigation oriented or very device specific, and everything that is your domain would then just be modeled by your data, and that's it. You just have it all. So, but yeah, a bit further out, I guess, for that. So yeah, I think quite a lot of exciting stuff happened this month. Thank you to our guests for joining. Thank you, Shah, for joining us. Thank you, Tahsin, for joining from Berlin. It's a lot of fun having you.
Thank you very much for having us.
And thanks to all of our viewers that just joined in. If you joined in halfway through and you feel like you missed out on something, the video will be available on YouTube to replay and then watch whenever you want. And if you're watching this in replay, you should have more information in the link down below about the things we've talked about and about the questionnaire to fill in if you want to be a part of one of the future events of Firebase Office Hours with Novoda. And on that note, I say thank you to you all, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Awesome.